Creamer Media's Engineering News and Mining Weekly is interviewing Japie Fullard, the Chief Executive Officer of Glencore Alloys, a South African company with a strong and long history of producing and marketing ferrochrome. Hi Japie, it's great to chat to you once again. Glencore reported yesterday that not one of its ferrochrome smelters is operating at the moment.
Yeah, thanks, Martin. Just quickly want to touch on that. I think it's very important to first understand that Glencore Alloys, although historically we were seen as a ferrochrome producer, but I think it's important to note that we are a chrome unit producer. So we produce chrome ore and then we beneficiate it into a ferrochrome product. But ultimately, we are a chrome unit producer. So wherever we are getting the most value for our chrome, that is where we will obviously capitalize. So and for that reason, currently, if we evaluate between chrome ore exports versus ferrochrome exports, the value of the chrome ore is superseding the ferrochrome production or value. And in actual fact, by producing ferrochrome in today's world, we are burning a lot of cash. And for that reason, we have then suspended both Boshoek and the Wonderkop smelters. Lion smelter, we actually brought forward the maintenance program. And it's not because of the winter tariffs at all. We do have an MPA, which is a negotiated price agreement, which is a constant value that we are getting from Eskom. And so the winter shutdowns, we do not follow that trend anymore because it's a flat rate. But even with this MPA, even a place like Lion, which is the best efficiency unit, I would still argue, in the world. But even they are currently not making profit. And for that reason, we have also stopped the Lion complex. But like I said, on Lion, we are bringing forward the maintenance of those complexes, and we will restart it later. But the way that it's looking now, and looking at the prices of ferrochrome, we are most probably not going to start it up for the rest of this year.
And when last Engineering News and Mining Weekly spoke to you, there was hope that the new lower energy smelt direct technology from African Rainbow Minerals would bring local ferroalloy production back to competitive life. And when I say ferroalloy, it was ferrochrome in particular. Is there still hope that it will do so?
Yeah, look, Martin, I can tell you that we are investigating that technology in detail. We are working with African Rainbow Minerals on this, and we are still investigating that. I think the concern that we've got is that their technology is definitely, efficiency-wise, a great solution. But even with that solution, it's going to ask a huge amount of capital to be invested. And the problem is that because of the uncertainty of electricity price and also the supply of electricity, investment is going to be extremely difficult in this environment where we are now. So we did test the technology. We are confident that with a lot of additional test work that can work. But today, I can tell you that in the absence of certainty, to spend a lot of capital on something that we are not 100% sure yet, that is not going to work.
So when it comes to pricing, what sort of price agreement with Eskom for the big base load would be needed to get these smelters going again?
So, Martin, I mean, obviously, you would know that there was that cabinet statement that came out on the 25th of June, and they specifically referred to the ferroalloys, but in actual fact, ferrochrome, because I can tell you that our competitor or our friend in South Africa, which is Glencore, are also in exactly the same situation. They've got, I think, 4 furnaces running out of 24, something like that. So obviously what we need is cheaper electricity. And I can tell you the reason why we are not competitive is because if you have a look at China, China is more than half the electricity price that we are at currently. So we need a electricity price where we are today more than half cheaper for us to actually start up and be competitive again.
And then you spoke about consistency as well. Are you concerned that there would also not be consistent supply? Or we've got rid of load shedding, haven't we?
Yeah, I think we've got rid of load shedding because there's quite a lot of smelting capacity that's actually been turned off. I must honestly say that if you have a look at Eskom's performance, it's definitely on the increase in terms of their efficiencies. They are now close to 70% as far as I know, coming from a base of 48%. So there's definitely improvement in Eskom. But if we turn back all the furnaces, I'm talking ourselves and also Glencore, we're talking about more than 2 gigawatts of additional energy that will come back. And obviously that will, again, put a huge amount of pressure onto the energy grid.
And so you were talking about the big capital cost of going into an alternative, lower energy, cleaner energy, smelt direct. But if one had the money, I mean, could this do the trick? And it would also mean that the cross-border adjustment mechanism tariffs would go out the window, would it not?
Yeah, I don't think it will go out of the window because remember, you are still going to use energy to convert chrome into ferrochrome. So the cross-border adjustment mechanism is not going to fall away, but the impact will be smaller because of your megawatts per ton. So if I just look at a place like Lion, I can tell you now there's not a single technology that's lower in megawatts per ton than the Lion complex. The Smelt Direct is really looking quite good in terms of a reduction in that megawatt per ton, but it's not going to be zero. I mean, it's still going to be above 1. So 1 megawatt per ton, actually a bit more, but so it's definitely the technology is definitely there. It's been proven that it can work. But yes, I think in this uncertain world where we are, to spend capital now on something that's not 100% tested yet, the pilot tests, that's what we are doing. But to actually commercialize that, that's where we still need to focus on.
And are there a lot of chrome fines around and slimes and carbonate? And Smelt Direct is able to process these fines and slimes. Is there enough of this waste to get people interested to turn it to account?
Yeah, Martin, I'm not sure about the carbonates. I mean, I think that you're more referring to, in that instance, more to, let's say, the manganese side of things. But even in the Smelt Direct, you must still conglomerate the fines. And it's not going to get rid of the waste material by the waste. I mean, you still need a certain quality of chrome units or chromite content in your product. It must still be a 40% chrome content. So that will not get rid of the waste at all. So it's not a technology that will turn waste into a product, no.
Now, there's also this talk of putting some sort of a tax on just exporting raw chrome. Couldn't there be some sort of agreement where what South Africa needs here in terms of chrome ore, raw ore, is supplied by the companies mining this chrome, and then the rest can be exported? What is your view?
Previously, they did talk about the chrome ore tax, and we felt that we need a mechanism. Now, how that mechanism looks, we don't know yet. And I think that's very dangerous to go into a mechanism that could actually hurt the whole industry more. So it's very important to understand that any chrome ore tax could be a blunt tool. So we don't know if that's going to work or not. So it's not something that we are lobbying for. What we are lobbying for is electricity that is cheap enough for us to be able to be competitive. What we are lobbying for is to be included into special economic zones. What we are lobbying for is stopping the illegal mining that's happening in South Africa. I'm not sure if you know this, but illegal mining of chrome ore is in the tune of about 10%. So if government has got a method to stop illegal mining and you take 10% of that chrome units out of the market, it will actually benefit the whole industry. And then obviously people can say, but why don't, because we want to beneficiate in South Africa. I mean, that is what we want to do. But you cannot beneficiate in South Africa for the benefit of one company and then the other companies are suffering. So you need to find a solution, a mechanism, so that the whole industry is actually gaining from that.
And do you have a mechanism in mind? I mean, could you spell something out for me?
No. I can tell you that it's an extremely complex mechanism, and we are looking at that. But in the absence of this mechanism, we would not support any quotas or any ore tax, because we don't know what that's going to do to the rest of the industry. I mean, yes, we can perhaps save beneficiation in South Africa, or we can save the ferrochrome industry, but not to the detriment of the non-integrated producers, because that's not the way. You can't punish some companies for the benefit of your company. It must all be based on market-related supply demand. So on this stage, we do not have a mechanism yet.
But it is a fantastic incentive that we get so much more money when we export beneficiated alloys. Surely there should be some sort of intense arrival at something that benefits everybody. Is there nothing in the world that they can follow that is a benign type of approach that benefits South Africa and everyone else involved?
I think, Martin, your comment is extremely valid. I mean, if you have a look at beneficiated product, it's a 5 times multiplier versus chrome ore. So obviously, from a revenue perspective, to export ferrochrome in terms of revenue for this country, it is massive. That's the first thing. The second thing, if you have a look at labor and you look at job creation, beneficiation is really the cornerstone of that. So by closing all the smelters is really going to hurt this country tremendously. I think what's very important is that if you have a look at, unfortunately, 20 years ago, South Africa couldn't stay up with the demand of stainless steel and ferrochrome. And that's where the problem came in, is that all of us started to export the ore because we could not benefit or beneficiate that in South Africa. In a perfect world, we should have kept on beneficiating and kept on growing the ferrochrome industry, but we didn't, because of electricity, as you know, because of the growth that we did not stay on that path. So if you compare ourselves, for instance, with Zimbabwe apparently is just now went for a full ore ban. Now, you cannot do it in South Africa, because if you go a ban in South Africa, it means that all the rest of the non-integrated producers cannot export their ore. So it's impossible to do that. And we cannot convert that in South Africa. So that concept, it's a great concept if you do have the capability of converting chrome into ferrochrome. But we can only convert 4.5 million tons, of ferrochrome. So that means 9 million tons of chrome ore becomes 4.5 million tons of ferrochrome, chrome ore into ferrochrome. So that's 2 tons, 1 ton of ferrochrome. So that could have helped, and it could have helped on the logistical constraints that we've got. So if we beneficiate more, it means that we will have much more revenue, for South Africa. We will have better logistical avenues. So there's huge advantage in this, but it must never be to the detriment of somebody else.
Finally, Japie, can you just sum it up? What's the takeaway?
Oh, Martin, I mean, the takeaway is that we are working with government and we are looking at possible solutions. And the first real short-term solution for us must be to get cheaper electricity for us to stay open or to still beneficiate. So that means it will put us in a position to be competitive against China. I think that's the first thing. And then there's other mechanisms that we are looking at, like the control of exports in terms of trying to pull back or curb this illegal mining that's now happening. Also to include us into the special economic zones that will give us tax reliefs. And then if we can get to a longer term solution in terms of mechanisms to to beneficiate more ore in South Africa, that will be the first prize.
That was Creamer Media's Engineering News and Mining Weekly, speaking to Japie Fullard, the Chief Executive Officer of Glencore Alloys.